For many, there is this great inner conflict in saying to a criminal, especially a murderer, that, hey, you're loved. For many of us, that conflict can run deep, and almost nowhere does it run deeper than with our beloved sister and an inspiration to me, Miss Donna King.
Hi, everyone. It's an honor to be here. Loss. Loss is a terrible thing. To lose people we love, to lose anything of value to our lives or well-being or happiness. My worst loss, the loss that I likely won't completely heal from on this side of heaven, is the loss of my best friend. The one I held tightly to in the night when our alcoholic parents were throwing things at walls and throwing punches at each other. The one I clung to in the back seat of our car as my drunken mother threatened to drive us all into a building. The one who was the other half of our rock star life that took place in our dark and dingy basement. He played electric guitar, I sang, we wrote songs and sang covers, and we were famous, totally famous, to the cobwebs looking down at us from the ceiling as we performed on that cold tile floor stage. On August 27th, 1987, I lost my brother. My brother was 25, and also lost were his girlfriend and her 2 children, who he loved as his own. It wasn't until a year after his death that we learned that the fire that took all 4 of their lives was started by my brother's girlfriend's ex-husband in an effort to collect insurance money for his drug-stricken life. I knew my brother died at the front door of the house where he was trying to save the life of the sweet little 2-year-old boy. I knew that he died there, and I believed that he had died there accidentally and that it was tragic. Now I knew a whole different truth. My brother's death was a premeditated murder. The reason I knew this was that the perpetrator was in prison on drug-related charges, and he confessed to his cellmate that he accidentally killed his own 2 children while purposely killing my brother and the mother of his children, my brother's girlfriend, so that he could gain custody of his children, which would come with a grand prize of a life insurance policy for his drug habit. Now I suffered an even more painful loss. And the imprisoned drug addict did too. When I was invited on the Timothy's Gift tour to sing and serve a few years back, I learned one of the prisons was in close proximity to where my brother had died, which was also where the man who ended his life sat in prison. We had to check the rolls to make sure I would not encounter him, as this was against policy. As it turned out, he had been transferred out of state, so I went. And I was able to look into the faces of each of those men and women in blue that we sang to with love and care because they weren't him. The one who took my irreplaceable hero and protector. I wouldn't have to forgive him because he wasn't there. But was that true? Was he really not there? Or was he everywhere I went as long as I held anger in my heart toward him? As each day passed, I began not just seeing the faces of those men and women. I began seeing him, Jerry. Interestingly, Jerry was also my brother's name. So I was never going to be able to get around the connection of those 2 names, Jerry who I lost and Jerry who caused my loss. But as I saw Jerry's face across those crowds, I began to see Jerry as God sees him. And as I saw Jerry as God saw him, my anger, my hurt, and my unforgiveness took its final breath and died at the hands of grace and mercy, of understanding and humanity. This was a good loss. In some ways, all of us are Jerry, flawed but not lost on God, and not lost on those willing to be God to us. My brother's murderer, who bore the same name as him, Jerry, was afflicted with a disease, the disease of addiction that led to his painful loss, his most painful loss, the loss of his own 2 children. But he was not lost on God. God created him, and many things affected, afflict, and damaged him on this earth. But the God of heaven is not one who falls out of love with his creation. While he must hate what happens to us and what we do to ourselves and each other, I know he never, ever, ever stops loving us. What if Timothy's gift could go to where Jerry sits in prison today? What if Timothy's gift could go to Jerry and remind him that he is seen and known and loved by God? I hope and I pray they do, because I know Jerry deserves to know that. And it is why I love and believe in and support the incredible work of Timothy's gift. In Matthew 25:36-40, it says, I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to me. Then the righteous will answer him, saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? And when did we see you as a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you? And the king will answer them, truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers, you did it to me. May we all be Jesus to everyone we meet in this life. What do we have to lose? Anger, hurt, judgment, bitterness. And those are good losses. If my husband could pass this prize of my life up. When my brother passed away, there were a couple of things that made it out of the fire. One of those was his Bible, and the other was this 1970 Gibson Les Paul Sunburst guitar that we played to the cobwebs. As it's a remnant of our rock star career in the basement, we play it to this day, and we think of him and we smile. His favorite song to play on it was Stairway to Heaven. And I'm grateful that the Stairway to Heaven is open to every single soul that God created. Thank you.